Go get a freaking center. Stop playing games with your Josh Myers. Everybody could see for 4 straight years he is not the dude. And then you go and, okay, now we're going to move our guard to center. All right, we expect him to play great. He didn't play as good as we wanted, although I think he was top 12 in pressures allowed according to PFF. Not horrible. He goes down with an injury. And now that's the other thing people aren't talking about. The final potential game-winning drive, right, that we have an opportunity to go down and beat the Bears. We have Lecitus Smith playing center. That's just what do we expect? So, anyway, man, I didn't plan on going this long and talking about all this, but here we are. My goodness. Let's hit the super chat real quick. Watching that game last night, thank God we lost last week because we would have been embarrassed on national TV by Seattle. That D is no joke. Thank you for the super chat, Mike Witt. Jacob, I said this after the Bears game, coming out of that game. I think I said it on the post-game show. I remember thinking, boy, even if we pull this off against the Bears, this team is not ready to compete with Seattle. It's not ready to compete with Denver. I mean, we competed with Denver when we had Micah and everybody was healthy, but not this. The roster is just too depleted with injuries. It just is, man. So anything you want to add to that before we move along here?
Yeah, I mean, that was tough. It's, I woke up literally right before I saw your text. My buddy Tony called me and he's like, what would you rather had? Would you rather have the loss that we had that was like, that quick kind of slit your throat type loss, or the one that's just a slow torture death? And I'm like, man, because what was it, like 41-6 or something like that? Like, it was unreal. I mean, it's like, would you rather just get like the Chinese torture, the raindrops on your head slowly, or would you rather just have it like, just lights out kind of thing? And it kind of did make me think about it. I'm like, geez, that would have been tough. I don't know what it's like to be a 49ers fan. I never will, thank God. But it's an interesting theory to think about. And yeah, that D is no joke. I mean, Seattle, you get that number 1 ranking for a reason. Like you said, Denver just barely squeaked it out at the end there. And I don't know what to think, man. What would you rather have?
Yeah, for me, it's like you get to a point in the season where it's okay. Do you have a chance to win the whole thing or not? And if you watch this show, I want to say it was like week 16 or 17. I said, boys, we're running out of gas. Like, yeah. This just ain't going. Listen, I don't want to say never. Anything can happen. It's the National Football League, but you get to the point where it's like, do we really expect? I mean, let me give you an example. This is a perfect segue. Thank you for that super chat, Mike, for that question. The Packers gave up 25 fourth quarter points in the wild card round. Yeah. Here were those players. Boy, I'm bad at spelling too. It was supposed to be a PER. Were those players most snaps at each position and where they were drafted? Okay, defensive tackle. 3-tech, the most important position, right? So both the nose and the 3-tech, 4th rounder, 6th rounder. Okay, keep in mind, we've got the youngest roster in the league when all of our veterans were healthy. So we damn sure had the youngest roster in the league after all those veterans got, banged up. Your Micah Parsons, your Elton Jenkins, all those, right? Defensive tackle, 4th rounder, 6th rounder. Edge room, 5th rounder, 1st rounder. You think, okay, that 1st rounder is Gary. No. LVN actually outsnapped Gary in that game, by the way. Okay, so 5th rounder at edge was Enigbare. Okay, so Enigbare, 5th rounder, and Lucas Van Ness, 1st rounder. Okay, so there's your first rounder on the defense. Linebacker, Quay Walker, 1st round pick. Edgerrin Cooper, 2nd round pick. Keep in mind, he left in the second half, so that's when everything fell apart. So I actually got this wrong. Well, I didn't specify 4th quarter, but in the 4th quarter, it actually wouldn't have been a 2nd rounder. It would have been a 3rd rounder in Tyron Hopper, along with Isaiah McDuffie in the 6th round. So it should have been 1, 3, 6. Okay, cornerback, undrafted free agent, and a 7th round pick. Nickelback, 2nd round pick. Not Jacob's favorite band, but Nickelback, the slot corner.
Nickelback slaps, bro. All right.
It does. Javon Bullard, 2nd round pick. All right. And then at safety, Xavier McKinney was a 2nd round pick. Evan Williams was a 4th round pick. So this idea that this defense is just littered with 1st round picks, that was the defense that was on the field for the Packers when they gave up 25 4th quarter points. 4th rounder and 6th rounder at the most important position, 3-tech, 5th rounder and 1st rounder starting at the most important position at edge, right? Tier 1, they're equally important. Stack backer, tier 2 position, 1st rounder, third rounder in the obviously in the fourth quarter, in the fourth quarter, and then a sixth rounder if you go to your base 4-3, cornerbacks, undrafted free agent, 7th round pick, nickelback 2nd round, safety 2nd round, and obviously Evan Williams 4th rounder. Evan Williams is a great football player. I'm just simply pointing out this idea that Goody has constructed this defensive roster that's just loaded with first round talent. They weren't on the damn field. Right. And it kind of is what it is there. Now, I want to give a shout out to 2-0 for this. You see this picture I chose, right? Look at this picture right here. You see this picture? Okay. Look, he says this picture looks like a Scooby-Doo scene. This picture looks like a Scooby-Doo scene, right? And it really does, man. He nailed that. Well, 2-0 for this. Shout out to you in the chat, man. I know you're in here, dude. God, it's hilarious, dude. Hilarious. All right, so just wanted to point that out. That's how the roster is kind of constructed there. So you want to know why you gave up 25 fourth quarter points. You had the youngest roster in the league, and you were limping in. Like, it should have been a first rounder at 3 taking Devontae Wyatt, but he's hurt, right? You should have had another first rounder in Micah Parsons playing edge. That should have said round one at the edge position. So when you look at Goody, you can't criticize them too hard. These guys just got hurt. You can't control whether they get hurt or not. Now, is there something to be said for how we're drafting players? Micah, obviously, we didn't draft. We traded for it. He stayed somewhat healthy his entire career. So just one of those things, man. They ran out of gas. So now, Christian Watson's dad kind of chimed in, and this is what I want to talk about Mecole Hardman. Again, we cut Mecole Hardman in training camp, and evidently he had a game last night. I didn't notice specifically. You guys let me know in the chat what it was he did. I don't know if he had a return for a touchdown or caught a touchdown. I think he scored a touchdown. He said not having Mecole Hardman at least be our returner was simply inexplicable, okay, with an angry emoji. And Jacob, I could not agree more. We were excited about that, right? We were shocked. We thought he was going to make the cut. Like, you're getting this guy on a minimum contract. He caught the game-winning catch in the Super Bowl. He's an athletic freak. He can return kicks. He can take the top off when you need him to. I remember when we signed him, everybody was excited. I remember Ryan's pod. He was excited about it. It's like, man, this guy may be a difference maker. And then we get the final cuts in camp, and Goody cuts his ass. Yeah. It's like, and again, him and LaFleur probably worked together on that, not to give LaFleur a complete pass. Maybe he said, no, I would rather have this guy than that guy. But it does, to me, kind of feel like we chose Bo Melton over Mecole Hardman. You know what I mean? That's what I feel.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, I love Christian's dad. You know, there's a lot of stuff that probably is controversial that he texts out, and
he'll let you know how he feels.
He'll let you know how he feels. I completely agree, honestly, with that sentiment, though, is because like we said earlier, you need some leadership, somebody that's been there before, and obviously like a guy that, you know, what if I feel like if we watch back at the tape of this year, I mean, the return game was just pathetic. It was just pathetic. And if you want to put that on Bisaccia's feet, then okay, but like, what has he got? You know, you can't make chicken. I won't even say, you know what I'm saying? Like, right, yeah. You can't ask for more than what you have of their capabilities and just expect to be the coaches, to be the guys that are like, oh, we're just going to make this, we're going to just manufacture somebody that's a great returner out of our roster just cause. And that's just an odd situation to try to put a coach in, to be like, we're just gonna make Bo Melton or enter whatever returner is in at that single moment, and you know, and it goes back again to like, okay, well, so why wasn't Nixon, if he's the best returner in the league, quote unquote, that he was, you know, that one year, why isn't he back there? Why isn't he helping the team? Why is he jumping out of the way of a freaking touchdown saving tackle? Because he's not a team guy. And if you had a guy like Mecole, who has been in Super Bowl snaps, literally won this freaking Super Bowl before, I agree with Zim. I do. I have to, man. It's just it's ridiculous that we did not put ourselves in a better position, in my opinion, to win these games. And it's tough. And then you go ahead and, like you said, you watch him perform in the playoffs again last night, and you're like, well, all right, there he is. That's playoff stock, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to look something up real quick because someone has a comment there I marked in the chat talking about we played Bo Melton over Matthew Golden all year long. And I know it feels like that, guys, but it's not true. I can't find the snap count now. Rob had tweeted out. Rob tweeted it out. I could probably find it on my profile. I shouldn't do this live on the show.
It's not true.
Right.
But it feels that way. And honestly, the fact that it felt that way, and honestly, watching Matthew Golden, the way that he took that ball and he scored, it does give you that kind of sour taste in your mouth, because it's like, why didn't we do more of this? Why didn't we force the ball into that man's hands? Because you see, when he catches that thing, dude, he had no. I mean, that was a dirty run. That guy was dodging and dipping and ducking, and I mean, he looked good when he had the ball in his hands. It's like, why didn't we do that more? That's an easy way to kind of.
Yeah, and we need to do a deep dive into the tape and see exactly how they deployed him, because I do disagree with that take. Now, whoever said that just now, again, not trying to pile on, not trying to dunk on you. I want to almost agree with you, because it kind of felt like that at times. The reason it felt like that's because the ball went to him in crucial moments, right?
Right.
Now, think about that fourth down drop. Think about the third down drops that Bo Melton had. And I think the reality, you guys fact check it yourself. I want to say Bo Melton had 90 offensive snaps and Matthew Golden had over 400. So it wasn't even close, right? We didn't choose him over it. Now, those specific games, was Matthew Golden hurt, and it came down to that. The point that Christian Watson's dad was making, I feel like, is not specifically, but it's the first thing I thought of when I read his comment about McCole Hardman. Imagine the guy who was clutch enough to make the game-winning Super Bowl touchdown catch on fourth down or third down, making those catches instead of Bo Melton. Again, we chose to go younger rather than keep McCole Hardman on the roster. And I know there's some people who's going to take this like, oh, now the talk is McCole Hardman's the reason we didn't make the Super Bowl. No, you're being hyperbolic. You're being condescending, and you're trying to stretch what we're saying into something else. Nobody's saying that we would have won the Super Bowl with McCole Hardman. I'm simply pointing out Christian's dad making a factual statement that, damn, really, our roster was too good to keep this guy as
well. And if you remember, gosh, I can't remember. It's driving me crazy. The kind of 5 or 6 receiver that was absolutely just a beast that we loved at the beginning of the year. Who was it? We lost him throughout the year.
I feel like there was a couple.
Gosh darn it. If you in the chat, could you please help me out with the how come I cannot remember his name right now? Just an absolute guy that blocked him in the next week. Gosh, what was it? Malik Heath. Yeah, we all loved Malik Heath so much, to the point where, like, if you would have probably asked me at that point, I would have said, yeah, there you go. Thank you, Creed. Malik Heath, I probably would have said, I want him over a guy like McCole Hardman. And now when you look back, hindsight's 2020, and you understand that, like, gosh darn, it's McSwain says.
Here's the thing with Malik Heath is something happened too, Jacob. Remember, something happened and he didn't get to travel with the team. There was some kind of disciplinary action. Now, I know I shouldn't even say his name because maybe he don't want me to say it, so I won't. Someone said they ran into Malik Heath, and this is a reliable source. He wouldn't lie about this. He actually covers the team. And that he talked to Malik Heath, and it got brought up that he got a speeding ticket, but he said, I didn't get confirmation that's why he didn't get to travel with the team, but something happened that was disciplinary. Now, keep in mind, you go back to Malik Heath's first training camp. He was a stud going into college. He was a stud for a good portion of his career in college. I remember correctly, he got 1 or 2 DUIs while he was in college, and that's why his draft stock fell. So the Packers bring him in as an undrafted free agent. Matt LaFleur rolled his ass in camp. Now, I remember reporters, when we get our training camp coverage, they were tweeting out, Matt LaFleur is all over Malik Heath. Like, he was on him big time, right? So you could tell Matt was trying to get the best out of him, and, evidently he did something to screw that up. It sounds like why he's gone, Jacob. Just to not make an excuse, but I think it is important to mention that.
No, that's a great point.
Mike Witt with the super chat says, now that the LaFleur drama is over, who is your preferred picks for DC? Whoever it is, I want some nasty from this defense next year. Just my opinion. We need more intensity from the defense. That's the one thing that Hafley did not bring to the table, right? Hafley wasn't he looked like he would get the guys fired up, but boy, intellectual. You know what I mean? He knows how to design a defense, although they gave up a lot of points down the stretch. We're going to talk about a potential candidate and some rumors that might be swirling, and I think you guys will be excited about it with a lot of Wisconsin Badger fans in here. So thank you so much for the super chat, Mike. Last thing here, and we got to move on. We're way behind. Bottom line, Brian Gutekunst took 3 swings in the right direction by signing Micah Parsons, which was a huge success for he and the Packers. Swings 2 and 3 as of right now seem like huge whiffs, with the addition of Aaron Banks over adding Drew Dahlman and signing Nate Hobbs, attempting to upgrade the cornerback room. Whether they pan out in year 2 or not, you need to take 2 more swings this offseason, especially without having a first-round pick. And especially if you decide to move on from Elton Jenkins, you don't want your roster is going to get even younger if you move on from Elton and don't replace him. Please don't just say, yeah, we're going to move on from Elton. We'll draft a second and third round offensive lineman and we'll try to work them into the starting rotation. That's not going to get you where you need to be. You're going to need to go out and try to find a veteran to help shore up that offensive line, in my opinion. Somebody like a Drew Dahlman, someone like a Joe Tooney. Whether you could afford Joe Tooney or not, I don't know. We'll get into the cap ramifications here soon. But there it is. Thank you, Cheo. Cheo Walker says, Golden 452 snaps, Melton's 96 snaps throughout the season. So thank you so much for bringing that up. You see what I'm saying, Jacob? It feels like, oh, man, we use Bo Melton way more than Golden. That is not true. That's not true.
Yeah. What do you think about Turt L. McGirtz?
He was second among wide receivers and targets, too, Matthew.
Right. Yes,
so, what'd you say, Jacob?
Turt L. McGirt has a comment saying, who says Dahlman even wanted to come here? I don't think that matters, whether or not he wanted. Like, if the money's right, you're going to go where you're going to go.
Like, you could say that for anybody. It's literally, it's about money. Like, so you're saying that he wanted to go to Chicago instead of Green Bay? Well, who's to say that you're right in that? And I don't mean to sound kind of aggressive there, but that whole thing is that's just like the comment that I was talking about Matt LaFleur. Well, who's to say Matt doesn't want the youngest roster? If you had offered Drew Dahlman more guaranteed money than Chicago did, Drew Dahlman would be a Green Bay Packer. So you're saying that he has some kind of personal vendetta that Dahlman didn't want to come to Green Bay? Like, that seems like a stretch for me. Maybe I'm wrong, but
anyway, if you guys say like Rizzy, I mean, that's not a great follow up either, buddy. Because
that's an interesting conversation. Again, I don't want to get back into the Rizzy talk because, like, the whole Darren Rizzy wasn't coming here. Darren Rizzy didn't.
You don't want to shovel snow. I'm going to Denver.
What? Yeah, obviously the snow wasn't a huge factor. Now, he did think it's forward with the New Orleans Saints at the time, but again, if you offer these guys the most money, they're going to come here. It does come down to dollars a cent. There comes a point where it's like, okay, maybe I do want to do that, So anyway, if you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments what you think about the whole Brian Gutekunst, the restructure of the front office. How do you feel like Goody performed last year? Let us know if you think he needs to press in and get more veterans on the team. Make sure you hit us up in the comments on that. Hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you know when we go live in the future. Now, let's talk a little defensive coordinator, Jacob. As you know, it sounds like we're inching closer to Jeff Hafley being gone in Green Bay, right? He's probably going to get the Miami Dolphins job. All the betting odds are through the roof. They have been from day one for John Eric Sullivan, who left the Green Bay Packers front office, to hire Jeff Hafley from Green Bay as his new head coach. There'll also be some other assistants who'll probably go with him. So this really kind of got interesting to me last night. You know who Ed Werder is? Covers the NFL for ESPN. You remember him? He's been an insider for quite some time, right?
Yep.
He mentioned a name last night, or at least he sent a quote tweet out, and it kind of got me going, does Ed know something we don't know? And Wisconsin Badger fans get excited, okay? It said, could Jim Leonhard be the Packers' next defensive coordinator is what we put here on Patreon. You guys know he is the secondaries coach in Denver that has an awesome defense this year as well, right? Ed Werder tweeted out, Packers could be contenders for former Wisconsin DC Jim Leonhard if current Green Bay DC Jeff Hafley is hired as head coach. And he had quote tweeted Parker Gabriel, perhaps worth noting that the Broncos secondary coach Jim Leonhard turned down the Packers DC job under Matt LaFleur in 2021 because he figured at the time he'd be at Wisconsin for the long haul. Now, pause, time out. Some rumors were suggesting that Mike Pettin, who was real close to Jim Leonhard, had told him, don't take the job with LaFleur because Mike Pettin and Matt LaFleur had a falling out as the defensive coordinator. Remember when they fired Mike Pettin, right? And he went to Minnesota to try to stick it to us. And I think he finally hung it up this year. Sorry it didn't work out there, bub. That's what happens when you go to the purple team up there. Yeah. But this was interesting because this tweet by Parker Gabriel kind of suggests, Jacob, that he just thought he was going to be in Wisconsin for the long haul. That's the reason he turned it down. It had nothing to do with maybe Mike Pettin being in his ear. With that being the case, if that was one of Matt LaFleur's top, obviously it was a top candidate. He offered it to him. It sounds like, I don't think he just turned down an interview. I think he offered it to him and he turned it down. Could Jim Leonhard be the next defensive coordinator in Green Bay? And I know you're a Wisconsin Badger fan. Listen, I've pushed back on this a little bit. I didn't think it was going to happen the first time. I ended up being right, but I pushed back and saying, like, guys, I understand he was a Wisconsin Badger. That's why you want him here. But this kind of feels like this has a little bit better chance of forming, you know? And I think anytime you can get somebody that the fans will love and a former Badger, he played for the Badgers, he coached for the Badgers, right? This would be exciting stuff here with Jim Leonhard potentially being the DC. Again, throw him in the group of other potential candidates. How would you feel about him being the DC? I'll try to pull up the defensive stats and let you know where they rank this year.
I mean, I'd love it personally. You know, being a Badger fan is tough because they sort of kind of pull the rug from you every single year. You start out strong, and then all of a sudden, you know, something happens, and it's being in the Big Ten, it's tough, man. We got a lot of powerhouses that we have to play against, but Jim Leonhard always put together an absolute stud defense. He just does. And, you know, can that transfer to the NFL level? Obviously, he's over there doing the secondaries coach, like you said, in Denver. But like, you got to be kidding me, says Leonhard wanted to be a head coach at Wisconsin. I don't know if that's exactly true, if that's what he, you know, the reason why he ended up leaving. But it'd be I think it'd be great. You know, you have, like you said, a guy that just is from Wisconsin, understands the dynamic, understands what that means to that this group of fans. I mean, football is all we got up here, man. It really is. We got the Brewers, we got the Bucks. Yeah, sure. We don't have a hockey team, but like, I mean, football is in our blood in Wisconsin. It's just something different. It's what we lean on. And when it doesn't work out, I mean, yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah. 2-0 for this says, what if Jeff Hafley by some miracle pulls a Ben Johnson in Detroit and sees the potential of the defense and stays? And again, that's not off the table, right? 2-0 for this. It's trending toward him being the head coach of Miami, but it was trending heavy for Ben Johnson to leave. And you guys remember he decided to come back with Detroit, give it one more run as their OC. So really, really interesting there. Mark in the chat here. Good to see you, buddy. Says Jim Leonhard coached the #1 defense in the nation. Let's go. Let's get it. Let's talk about his history here a little bit, Jacob. So I just had AI pull it. And if there's any mistakes here that AI got, let me know in the chat. You guys correct it as we go. Jim Leonhard has transitioned from a standout 10-year NFL vet playing career to becoming one of the most respected defensive minds in both college and professional football. Below is the complete list of his coaching history. So he started in 2016 with the University of Wisconsin as a defensive backs coach. And then the next year, for the next 3 years, he was promoted to defensive coordinator and defensive backs coach, then defensive coordinator and safeties coach. So he was a DC from 2017 through 2022, it looks like. He was the interim head coach in 2022. Last 7 games, and they had a 4-3 record in that time. Then he went to the University of Illinois as a senior football analyst, right? Then he goes to the Denver Broncos, back to the NFL, defensive backs coach and passing game coordinator. This year, assistant head coach and defensive passing game coordinator. So here's the other thing. Their DC up there, I'm trying to think of his name. Help me out. Is it Vance Joseph? I think it's Vance Joseph. Yeah. So if Vance Joseph gets a head coaching job, they will most likely promote Jim Leonhard to DC. So that would block us from being able to get him. Just want to put that out there before somebody mentions it. Now, how good has Denver's defense been this year? Passing defense, Jacob. Yards per pass attempt allowed. They're second best at 5.5. Guess who's number 1? Seattle. We seen that Seattle defense last night. They were buzzing, right? So as good as Seattle's pass defense looked last night against the Niners, where they just took belt to ass, they are 1/10 away from Denver. And again, passing game coordinator, that was Jim Leonhard. So this would be a good hire, man. I really like this. That's kind of his history. Now, key coaching achievements was NFL success in his first season with the Broncos. He coached cornerback Pat Surtain to an AP Defensive Player of the Year award. So he was working hand in hand with Patrick Surtain. Obviously, he's the guy who got the interception on Christian Watson in that game that completely changed the tide there. Wisconsin defense during his tenure as defensive coordinator. Wisconsin consistently ranked in the top 5 nationally for total defense scoring defense awards. He was a finalist for the Broyles Award, the nation's top assistant coach in 2017, his first year as the coordinator. Interim record as the interim head coach. Obviously, he had a 4-3 record to secure bowl eligibility. So a little bit of clutch head coaching there down the stretch. So to me, man, this skyrockets toward the top. And we talked about this a little bit last night. You and I did with some of the potential lead candidates. Jim Leonhard, right? Zach Orr with the Ravens. That's probably my least favorite of these. DeMarcus Covington in-house if you want to keep everything intact and just promote your defensive line coach and run game coordinator to your DC. Bonda, the safeties coach with the Browns, is another young and up-and-comer. Chris Harris, who interviewed for the DC last time when we chose Jeff Hafley, he's the Jets DB coach and interim DC. That one takes a back burner to me. I'm not as interested in him. He may get an interview or two. Maybe he'll get a first or a second look from Matt. I'm not as impressed with that because the Jets defense was horrible. Now they did trade the key players away. That's going to play into it. And then you got Aroha, if I'm saying that right, or Araho maybe, the Dolphins cornerback coach. So for me, if I had to choose out of these based off what we've talked about here, my top choices would definitely be Jim Leonhard and DeMarcus Covington out of that list. I'm kind of leaning toward Leonhard, Jacob, over Covington. I don't know how you feel, man.
Yeah, I honestly do agree with that. Nick Swain says, please, no inside hire. I kind of agree with that sentiment just because you need to bring in, I feel like, a little new blood to shake things up and just maybe give a little more inspiration, It just feels like that whatever we've been doing lately isn't working. Even, like we talked about it, man, the Hafley thing, it was so good on paper. And then when Micah was firing, we all thought that, man, this defense looks different. By the end of the year, he had a worse defense than Barry. Have you seen the stats where they compare him? Like Barry had better numbers, which is crazy. And so, yeah, I do like the idea of the Jim Leonhard. I think that would be, great. I really do.
Yeah. Again, what it comes down to here, if it's between DeMarcus Covington and Jim Leonhard, a perfect scenario for me would be DeMarcus Covington doesn't get offered a DC job somewhere else. I don't know if that'll happen. He interviewed in Dallas. Obviously, Jeff Hafley would be very interested in taking him with him to Miami if he gets that job. But if you can keep him your defensive line coach and bring in Jim Leonhard as your new DC, to me, that's like a perfect scenario, right? If you could keep him and keep Ansley on as well. Now, Romero Hill asked a question, fellas, is Leonhard, if Leonhard was to become our DC, can he bring some Denver coaches with him? He can, but obviously you got to let people go. Now, that's going to happen by default. There's going to be a void created in the coaching staff because Hafley's going to want to take guys with him. I imagine he'll take Coach Ogabasi with him. He was with him at BC. He's here in Green Bay with him. I can see him taking him. He'll probably take either DeMarcus Covington or Derek Ansley as his DC. So that's going to free up a spot there as well. So you got to answer your question. If Leonhard were to become the DC, he would definitely bring coaches with him from Denver. Now the question becomes, of the coaches that stay, for example, if DeMarcus Covington doesn't get a DC job, let's say that Hafley goes with Covington, right? Or not Covington, he goes with Ansley and takes him as his DC. Let's say that happens. If that happens, then there's a chance that if you hire Jim Leonhard or anyone outside, they could come in and go, we don't want Covington. Now, if they bounce that off Matt LaFleur, and they have to because Matt LaFleur would be their boss. Now, in the negotiation, a DC may say, hey, the only request I've got other than the money that we've agreed on is I get total say in my defensive staff. That's a real thing. Matt may grant them that. There's a chance that Covington could get scrapped if you go with someone like Leonhard or Zach Orr or someone else. And I want to be clear here, Jacob. Zach Orr was one of my top candidates going into the last hire. I really like Zach Orr, right? He's young. He's only 33 years old, one of the youngest coordinators. But their defense got their ass kicked in Baltimore this year. So that was his first experience as DC, and they ranked in the bottom half of the league in pretty much every important statistical category. So it's like, I don't know if I feel as excited about him. That's why I lean toward Leonhard and DeMarcus Covington. And then also, we'll get your take on this one more time. Raheem Morris is another one we talked about last night. That's another top candidate. So I would go, let's say Hafley's gone, and Covington is obviously a choice. Ansley's a choice. My top choice would be Covington. It would be between Covington, Raheem Morris, and Jim Leonhard. Those would be my top three, to be honest with you. How do you feel about it, Jake?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, like, I don't know if there's a situation where B-Flow is available, but that would be another interesting prospect. Don't necessarily agree with the guy on some of the stuff he's done in his past, but he seems to be able to just, look at that Vikings defense. There's not a lot of, I don't want to say not a lot of talent, but like not a lot of names that would pop off the list. You know what I mean? But somehow he seemed to get the best play out of them. And it seems like he's done that wherever he went. Seems like a no nonsense kind of coach. I feel like that's kind of what we need. Hafley was great. I love the way that he was kind of like a a motivator, a teacher, if you will, more of a, you know, kind of like a mentor, more than like a kind of shove it down your throat type coach. I think that we maybe need that. I think we need a little more grit coming back to Green Bay. I think that we need just, you know, we're playing on the frozen tundra, man. We don't need sissies. We don't need babies. We don't need guys that are trying to mold, man. We need freaking coaches that will coach you into the dirt. And if you're not willing to stick up and make these plays, if you're going to Keyshawn Nixon it and jump out of the way to save whatever you want to save, you know, whether it's your body, your reputation, whatever the frick you think you're doing there, that player never sees the field again. That's what I want from our defense. I want a hard-nosed, tough SOB that's going to go in there and start making, you know, actual decisions that are going to make sure that everybody else on that roster knows that if you want to play on this team, you come in with your head down, and if not, you're not going to play. Like, that's what I want.
I think we would all agree too that one of the another byproduct, or a positive, I should say, that if the Packers were to get Brian Flores, and again, Flores would be my top choice. Let me be very vocal. I'm just assuming he's going to get a head coaching job. He's had 3 interviews. Actually, there's 3 different teams that he's the odds-on betting favorite to get the head coaching job. So chances are one of those 3, he will be the head coach. But if he's available, he would be my top choice, no doubt. But also, if you get an opportunity to weaken the Minnesota Vikings, because we know they want him back. Right. Oh, yeah. If he doesn't get a head coaching job, they're going to want to try to get him back. Kevin O'Connell loves him. He had a great defense. His defense was actually better than Jeff Hafley's defense this year in rankings, right? Hands down. So if you get an opportunity to outbid them and pay him more money, right, that would be a plus to snatch him away from Minnesota, right? So you don't have to face that again, and you upgrade your defense coordinator position as best you can. Whether, you know, there may be some people that think Hafley's a better DC than Flores. I get it. I understand. There's arguments on both sides, right? Like, you know, Flores didn't have Micah Parsons this year. We've seen what Hafley's defense did without Micah Parsons.
Yeah, like Van Ginkel or whatever.
Right. And there's some players on the team, as you said it, I'm thinking, who all are on their team? And then I got to thinking, I'm like, I feel like they've got a bunch of very good players, but no, like, great players. You know what I'm saying? So
Jonathan Grenard, Van Ginkel, you know, Harrison Smith, but nobody that pops off the screen.
Right. He's obviously not the same player, but let's end this with a little. Well, first of all, if you guys are watching that video back later, let us know in the comments, what do you think about Jim Leonhard? I think I know how the majority feels about Jim Leonhard. You would love to have a former Wisconsin Badger be your DC. He's had success everywhere he's gone. The track record checks out everywhere he's gone. And now he's obviously taken Denver's secondary to a whole new level, helping Pat Surtain win that AP Defensive Player of the Year, and obviously the second best passing defense in terms of yards per pass attempt. Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. Let's have some fun on the way out. Jacob, you good with that?
Started off with Donovan. Come on, guys. I had the Packers legend Eric Wilson. He got a lot out of Eric Wilson too. Eric Wilson played great.
I guess he did. Yeah. All right, let's have some fun here. So I want to give a shout out to somebody on X. This is Alicia. I hope I'm saying the name right. It's either Alicia or Alicia. I think it's Alicia. Is that how you would say that, Jacob?
I would say Alicia.
Yeah. Anyway, so she put a tweet out, said, all of Dolphins Twitter roasting Hafley for his haircut is sending me. And I'm like, what is she talking about? So I said, I need links, right? So she hit us up with links, right? She said there was a Beavis and Butthead one. I haven't seen that one yet. Right? So look at the Dolphins going off here. Let me see if we may have to come back. So first of all, it kind of started with this. After many seconds spent research, after many seconds spent researching the best possible candidates for the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, I have eliminated Jeff Hafley for consideration. I just don't like his hair. All right. So that's the first one that got it kicked off. And then she comes back and says, well, I don't know what this one is. I'm a little nervous clicking on it. Is there a picture? There ain't no picture. Okay. So she's just kind of quote tweeting people. Look at this one. Breaking news. I might crash out if we hire this license and registration looking MFer and Jeff Hafley. So they got a Photoshop in the Florida State Troopers uniform, obviously. This next one's probably the best, though, right? And she did not just look at this one, Jacob. So this one came in from Joe Robbie, who said, honestly, Hafley might just be the guy that still does not make up for that horrific haircut. If Hafley agrees to go to Miami, to a Miami-based barber moving forward, I'm in. Now, this is that one killed me, right? This one right here, though. Check out. Look at that guy right here, Jacob. You kidding me? There's another look he could have, right?
No.
Oh, what about this?
No.
Oh no, that's Mr. Steal Your Girl right there.
Yeah.
And then
Hide
that
your,
one, of
hide
course.
your kids, hide your wife.
Yeah. Is that what a faux hawk is? People tell me I have a faux hawk. Is that how you say it, faux hawk? I don't know. We've always called it as a buzz cut, man. I've got a fat face.
I don't think you quite have a faux hawk. No, it's probably more along the lines of that.
I always tell people, man, I got a fat face. I tell the barber, man, make it look skinny as you can on the sides, please. That's all I tell them, and they do what they got to do. And now Mandy cuts the hair. So, but yeah, this Fabio look got me though, man. That's pretty clean, right there.
It's like Trevor Lawrence's dad, right there.
So again, I just think it's hilarious that we're over here as Packer fans. You know, we're in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Only thing that matters is football, winning Lombardis, all that, right? And now Jeff Hafley might be the next head coach in Miami. We're begging. We're just hoping, right? She said Murph, Bradley Cooper look-alike for the second photo. Good call, Murph. Good call. We're over here just praying to sweet baby Jesus Jeff Hafley somehow, some way stays our defensive coordinator. And Miami's going, I don't like his haircut. No, I don't know if I want that guy. So, yeah, appreciate what you got with this Packer fan base for sure. And again, shout out to Alicia. Again, I hope I didn't butcher the name, but that popped up on the timeline. I was like, sis, I'm gonna have to have. I need some links to this. I got to. She did not disappoint. So make sure y'all go give her a follow over there as well. And tell them PTA sent you. Jacob, you got anything else you want to hit before we wrap up, man?
No, man. I mean, we have almost 1,000 watching live right now. So if you guys could hit that like and subscribe, we're gonna be. Clayton's been doing just the God's work, just going live at any moment's notice if there is some breaking news. So, keep tuned to the channel. If you like this type of content, it's what we do. The off season, I can't reiterate enough, is me and Clayton were talking about it last night after the show. It's probably our favorite time, just because, like you said, there's no stress. We're just talking ball. We're talking prospects. We're talking potentials, right? Everything is hopeful. And if you guys like that type of content, I know there's a few other podcasts that maybe fall off in the offseason. We don't. We step it up. We're going to start doing the mock drafts. We're going to start looking at prospects. We're going to get you guys our draft boards. Emilio does a ton of work and trying to get together a lot of stats and projections and everything you could ever imagine under the sun. So just keep tuned, hit that like, hit that subscribe. It's a great time to be alive. It's a great time to be a Packer fan, especially now when there's, like I said, the hopes are sky high. Why not?
Absolutely. And again, we cracked the 1,000 mark just a second ago. So thanks to everybody who joined. Also, we are on the cusp of breaking 8,000 subs, right? We're at 7,991 subs. So if you're watching this and you want to be a part of what we're doing moving forward and you want to bless the show, just hit that sub button for us, man. Get us over $8,000. Watch time is through the roof. I'm blown away. Over the last 28 days, we've had 263,000 views on the channel. Watch time is way up. So there were actually 34,400 hours watched on the channel in the last 28 days, which is just insane. YouTube's notified me a couple of times like, hey, what you're doing is working great. Your channel's growing like crazy. Subs, we picked up 560 subs over the last month as well. And again, we're just in here talking about what's going on. It has nothing to do with us. We're building a community where Packer fans can come in here and respectfully have a conversation. We have one knucklehead in the chat earlier. I came this close to blocking him because he called somebody dense. Not going to fly in here. We're not in here to insult each other. We're here to have a good time, have a good laugh, talk about what's actually happening, break down the tape, learn football together. I'm not teaching football. We're all coming together and learning about the Packers and the game of football, and specifically the National Football League. The draft board is going to be awesome. That's over in our Patreon group, an extra perk over there, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. But again, the only reason the channel is growing is because you guys are in there hanging out in the chat. It's an awesome, awesome community, and we greatly appreciate it. Jake, appreciate you jumping on. We'll be back later. If any news breaks, if we get a DC hire, if we get any interviews, we will go live on the spot, breaking news. I am going to go out at 3 o'clock and watch the Patriots game at a sports bar. So we'll be out of the office, or out of the studio, I should say, around that time. So hopefully if anything breaks, it breaks before then. But we'll definitely be going live again before 3 o'clock. We'll go in there and definitely talk. So Turk McGirt says, you guys do it right, Clayton and Jacob. Sometimes Tim and Excelio.
Catching strays.
Excelio, man. I love that name stuck. So
yep.
All right, that's it, guys. We're out of here. Let us know in the comments what do you think about everything we covered. And again, just so you guys know, if you sub to the channel, every segment we hit, we had like 4 different segments today. If you're sub to the channel, you'll see that I upload those separately in video form. So you may not have time to tune into a live stream, right? But you can jump in and watch a 15-minute clip on just the Matt LaFleur extension or the Brian Gutekunst breakdown or the Jim Leonhard rumors, all that stuff. So we're trying to make it as convenient as possible for everyone. I know y'all got things going on in your life. Everything's
Packer Doug is asking, hate watch for the Bears game. I think we would generally, but Ryan is doing a live stream, I believe, through his Patreon. So we don't want to, we don't want to try to steal any sort of viewership out of that. So if you guys are interested, check out Ryan's Patreon. He's going to be doing a hate party. He's going to hate them just as good as we could, if not better.
Yeah, and what we may do, so we don't, because again, you guys, if you're not a member of Ryan's Patreon group, go check it out, Packernet. If you go to packernet.com, you'll see a link to the Patreon, I'm sure. That's where you can get this podcast too, is if you sub to Packernet Podcasts. That's the audio form of this show that goes on there. But what we may do, Jacob, is down the stretch in like the 4th quarter, we may go live or something. You know what I mean? He kind of rounded out in that way. But I'm going to try to hop in there with Ryan here in a little bit too and watch his stream, man, because it's always a blast anytime he does anything live. So thanks for mentioning that for sure. So, all right, that's it, guys. We're out of here. Thank y'all so much. Let me just check, make sure we didn't get a flurry there real quick. Yeah, we just picked up 4 more. We're at 7,995 subs.
Jeez.
Now, I'm sure by the time everybody watches this, we'll be over 8. I'll throw a Twitter post out when we hit 8,000 subs and thank everybody, and we'll celebrate together. So we'll be live again before 3 o'clock. I promise you that. Might be closer to the 1 o'clock range. Hopefully some news will break. If not, we'll break down some more of these free agents, potential cuts, restructures. We talked about Rashawn Gary pretty extensively. We'll dive into Aaron Banks, do a quick breakdown of whether or not we should keep him at the 24.8 or just free up $4 million and move on. So we'll do that here in a little bit. Appreciate everybody. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. This show sucks, says Donovan Schilling. Okay.
Here we go.
Bye, guys.